Well, if you didn't just watch the Cyber Bulls, they were on just a few seconds ago. This was Herbert's best, maybe Cyber Bull show ever. They interviewed Dan Ives as a group and asked him a bunch of pertinent questions, and he gave some really, really great answers. If you don't have time to watch it, I highly recommend that you do. But if you don't have time, I'm going to shorten it up for you and give you a blow-by-blow of the most important things that were discussed in that hour or so video. And then in the meantime, we'll talk about a couple of other things Tesla-wise, and then do the regular economic stuff on a day when Tesla was up over $5 again, and where it's down a little bit in the after hours, but at the end of the show, we'll look again to see if it's up or down. Anyway, here we go. Let's take a look. First of all, we ended up at 2151.52. We are only 20% short of 300 at this point. So 20% on top of that would get us to 300. Bad news is good news today, as the markets were thinking that the slowing economy might be enough to get the Fed cut in September. So the NASDAQ and the S&P both hit new highs, but not the Russell. I'm thinking it's now possible, but definitely it will take more data, such as the CPI and PPI next week, for the Fed to actually cut in September. Of course, the July cut, I think, is completely off the boards, but you don't know. Maybe the July numbers for CPI and PPI are so startling that they're able to take a 25 shot in July. Could happen. Okay. Dan Ives on the Tesla Bull and the Tesla Bulls. Here's what they covered in no particular order. Number one, he says he thinks the main reason that the stock went up, and the main reason he's hearing from his friends, are the auto sales stabilized. It wasn't so much about beating or being higher than or anything else, but rather that they stabilized. And that would also probably mean that margins will stabilize, might even be up. Number two, the shareholder meeting helped investors be more comfortable after the vote was over. So it wasn't just the vote, it was the attitude. It was the way the meeting was conducted. It was the way that Elon Musk was talking and the way that he was casting the vision. All those things were part of what he's hearing is the reason for the stock to be going up, why people are more interested at this point. Number three, institutions don't want to miss the AI part. What have I been saying? Yeah. So for now, we're finally getting institutions in that are saying, look, we get it. Tesla's way more than a car company, and they don't want to miss this one. They want to be part of it. He says, well, Tesla is now nearing the dance floor when it comes to an understanding of the community that Tesla is one of the biggies when it comes to the AI future. Number four, auto margins. He was asked about. He didn't answer that one. I don't know if it was on purpose or not. Number five, AI phases. He says, well, okay, look, there was a long conversation where Jeff Lutz gave his analysis, or no, maybe it was Jeff or Larry or both of them anyway, about how this AI thing plays out. You know, we've got the chips, which is kind of the picks and shovels, as everybody talks about. Then you got the software, then you got the data, and then you have the consumer-facing side of it. And he says, okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, we've got the chips, which is NVIDIA, and then we got software by the Microsofts. We got the data from, people like Palantir. And then, you've got the consumer-facing part like Apple. And each of these companies is starting to see some activity around the fact of where they are in these different processes. He says, but Tesla, the bulls were making the statement that Tesla has so much more to offer in this regard because they have the data, they have the inference chips, they actually are putting in the data centers themselves. All of this stuff is so much more advanced than what anybody else is doing out there, and that the current output of Tesla's AI is greater than any other company out there because of the millions and billions of actions that have to be taken daily by the vehicles, and that doesn't even count the robots. So he says, look, he would say the big deal will be if Tesla's able to OEM to others. So he's hoping, expecting even that at 8.8, we might see OEM announcements where, Tesla is providing these services to a Baidu or, to a BYD or somebody like that. He says he definitely thinks that Tesla is the most undervalued AI play in the market. And he's saying this after this run up to 250. He says the valuation is not reflecting the AI component at this point. It would have to be valued at over $1 trillion, over $400 a share. Well, call it 360, 350, somewhere around there, before it would actually be starting to take the AI impact into account. He says the winner, actually Larry says the winner will be the one with the most proprietary data, and that, again, Tesla is so far ahead on this with 6 years and how many billions and billions of miles, not counting other kinds of things that they've been doing in terms of understanding how to apply all of this. And he's saying it doesn't even compare to the LLMs in terms of the experience, as well as the total amount of proprietary data that nobody else can even get to. And this was not anything that Dan Ives didn't really speak to it, but he didn't argue with it as well. Dan Ives turns around and says, look, the installed base is the key. What will be the installed base? You know, as the street starts to see that one method or another is getting to that installed base, that will be how they will figure it out. So is it going to be, you know, the robotaxi version of it where you and I are renting out our car? He thought not. He didn't think that was going to be the big deal. I think it will be a big deal. Elon thinks it'll be a big deal. Therefore, I think it'll be a big deal. He didn't think it would be the Uber type partnership arrangement. He did think it would be fleets. He thought fleets would be the biggest piece of it. And that would be, say, for instance, maybe instead of I have one car that I'm going to put out there, maybe I buy 50 cars, I buy 100, maybe I buy 1,000 cars and I put them out as robotaxis. And it could be existing Hertzes and people like that buy the cars and outfit them specifically to go out as robotaxis. So that's where he thinks the big numbers will come. He says he thinks it's the most important is that it happens in the United States, but he does believe that China is ahead on that they're already doing it, and that's important. He also said that Optimus has zero value on Wall Street. Zero. He thinks it will take longer for Optimus to start providing significant revenue than it will for robotaxi. I think the opposite. He thinks that right now he's not even paying any particular attention to Optimus. He was even asked if he'd like to go to the factory and walk through the Optimus labs, and he was like, yeah, not so much. So like everybody else, I think he's going to be shocked and amazed. But he just says, look, it isn't time yet. It just, the street, I can't, he says, I look at 3 years out, but my focus is 6 to 12 months out. And he doesn't think there'll be any effective revenue for Optimus within that 6 to 12 month window. He did say, however, that if Optimus is shown, if they've got 1,000 or 2,000 in the factory, and let's say the third quarter, the numbers come out and they can show that the margins have shot up because of the activities of the Optimus bots in the factories, he says, now that would be something people would pay attention to. Otherwise, like everything else, might have to get the 10% or more of overall revenues and or profits before the street will really pay attention. He goes on to say, look, show me the path to monetize. That's what he's going to be looking for on 8.8, different than what you and I are going to be looking for. Yes, I'd like to see, what do they think they're going to charge them per mile? Do they think it'll be mostly partnerships, or will it be fleets, or will it be your car and my car? You know, how much revenue percentage does Tesla want to take? How are they going to base the cost of the FSD? Is there going to be two different paths? As I've mentioned many, many times on this show, I'd like to see two paths, one for people that will never use it as a business, and another path for those people that want to use it as a business. Maybe the cost to you and me, or I'm sorry, not to someone who's never going to use it as a robotaxi, maybe it's only $4,000 to buy it outright. Anyway, something along that order. So he says, show me the path to the monetization. Now we'll be able to open up that tab on our spreadsheet. He says that he would like also to see on 8.8 a deep dive into the technology, the vision for robotaxi, the technology and the vision. Deep dives, give us the details. The more details we have, the more likely we are to be able to value it. He was asked, how do we get to that $400 price point again? He says, look at everything we just talked about. That's how you get there. He says, steel is not going to get us, you know, making more cars, as important as it is. And he has something else to say about that in a minute. Steel is not the way we're going to get back to 400. It is going to be through autonomy. He reiterates that Tesla will be a win with Trump in office. Tesla will win if Trump is in office, but the overall EV or BEV business will lose with Trump in office because he thinks the Trump administration will just eliminate the IRA incentives, at least on, he didn't say, I'm saying at least on the retail side. I don't think so. I think they'll cut them back. I don't think they'll eliminate them, but I could be wrong. He said he has tried FSD and he loved it. It was a huge eye opener for him. He just tried it 2 months ago. It's part of why he's so hot now, is he thinks it was just absolutely amazing. He says energy is at this point starting to be considered, and I think we all agree that if it's more than 10% of earnings on the next print here on the 23rd, that will move the market. He went deep in congratulations to Alexandra and the rest of the community, specifically the Bulls, for all the work that they did to get the thing through at the meeting, get the the compensation plan approved and the move to Texas. He said there's never been a community like the Tesla community in terms of getting something like that done. By the way, it is the largest retail community in the world with 10 million shareholders. He says he has ridden in the Cybertruck, and then they missed it and they failed to get his comments on whether he liked it or not. He thinks that monetization of the bots will come later than the robotaxi. I think I might have said that earlier. Not a word was said in the entire discussion about Juniper. Now that could just be an oversight, but is that funny? I think it's going to be the thing that I think is going to be move the market huge, as well as dramatically increase the number of Ys that are sold in 2025, and maybe sooner, I hope. Okay, the biggest mover of the stock will be, according to him, the biggest mover will not be robotaxi, will not be Juniper, will not be Cyber. It won't be any of the things. He says the biggest mover will be the 2.5 vehicle, and he has a very a normal view of what the 2.5 will be, which is something between the 3.0, which we were expecting, and a Model 3, Model Y. Maybe not a $25,000 vehicle, maybe a $30,000 vehicle. He didn't say all this. I'm putting words in his mouth. But basically, it will be the interim model that will be very low priced and very affordable. Jeff Lutz, I didn't know it. He and I need to talk about that next Wednesday. Jeff Lutz has a very different viewpoint of what we're going to see with the 2.5. And then finally, he did go back to Optimus one more time. He says, look, oh no, I already covered that, so forget that. All right, let's go on. All right. I forgot to note this morning that at least one government agency in China has already taken advantage of the Tesla vehicles being on their okay to purchase list. And they bought some Tesla vehicles. And this is being touted today by some as part of the reason for the additional 5 points today. Well, you know what? Here's my theory. Maybe the Trump administration next year will actually put Tesla on the okay to purchase list for the US government. Maybe as much as we don't expect it, because we know that Mr. Trump and the Republicans don't care that much about greening or global warming or any of that. But maybe they'll understand the value of electric vehicles in terms of just regular commercial value, being less expensive to maintain, lasting forever, etc. Maybe they'll start suggesting that government agencies start buying these things, unlike the current administration, and then maybe that'll catch on with state houses and cities all over the country that are not buying these vehicles. I don't know what's going on. And it's not just Teslas. They're not buying Ford or General Motors or any of the other ones either. It's just crazy. All right. Sawyer Merritt says this. He says, Tesla's full self-driving supervised 12.4.3 is now starting to roll out to some early access Tesla owners, non-employees in the US. Maybe we'll be seeing 12.4.3 later this week. I did see a short video. I can't even tell you whose it was. Just a short discussion about 12.4.2, I believe it was, saying that it's unreal. I mean, really changes everything. From electric, Tesla is now upgrading the Cybertruck electric motor with a more efficient and reliable motor. Tesla has started to contact some early Cybertruck owners to tell them they'll change out their existing electric drivetrain. The automaker says that that was after conducting a study of early Cybertrucks. Select owners' next service visit, Tesla will change out one of the drive units for free. Hey, how about that? Who does that? It's not even a recall. It's just, hey, listen, we got a better one, and we think that as an early adopter, an early owner, you deserve to get the best. Well, that's really amazing. Electric says it could be as simple as Tesla finding some optimization through reviews, and now the automaker is bringing back some of its early motors to see if they can find further optimizations. It could also be that Tesla found a problem with the existing drivetrain, and this is kind of a soft start of a retrofitting. Anyway, they're just speculating, never mind. All right, let's go on from here. So as we know, we had new highs in the Standard & Poor's and the NASDAQ today, but not the Russell. You know that the Russell has only gone up from 1,600 to 2,000 between January of 2020 and now. That's 4.5. Is that 4.5? Yeah, all of 20. Yeah, 2020, 2021, 22. Yeah, 4.5 years. It's only gone from 1,600 to 2,000. And you may remember from 3 weeks ago that the NFIB, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, reported the worst levels of optimism. In other words, they were not optimistic about the future at a record low level. Whatever. I don't know what I just said. That was a Kamala Harris kind of statement. The report is out next week. We'll see if there's any increase in the optimism or whether the small business owners are still not optimistic. But what you're looking at here, from what I'm seeing, is small business and the next level up, kind of the 500 plus folks, the mid cap, not even this, I guess the small caps, not happy, not doing well. So you add that together with the bond inversion starting to contract. It has failed so far to break below 30 basis points when you're comparing the 10-year to the 2-year, but it's way down from the 50 basis points that it was just a few weeks ago. And then you have the SAHM rule, or the SAM rule, regarding when you have a 0.5% increase in unemployment over 6 months, then every single time that's happened, you get a recession. Well, at this point, it's gone up 0.7 now from 3.4 to 4.1, but there's never been a 6-month period when it's gone up 0.5 yet. So it's getting very, very close to doing that. Well, at some point, it's going to be true anyway. By the way, they've never had a false positive on the SAM rule either. So that's interesting. I am upping based on all of this and way more, I'm upping my expectation to a definite lower GDP in Q3. I don't think there's a chance that the GDP will be increasing in Q3, and a very high likelihood of the GDP being lower in Q4 compared to last Q4. So that could be a technical recession. So the overall odds of a recession now, I would say, are 50%. In other words, 2 quarters in a row. But the Q3, not a chance. It is going to be a lower GDP year over year. Possibly Q2 was. We will see in a couple of weeks, I think. I don't think it's next week. I think it might be the following week. We will see if the GDP, the early number coming in, shows it at a negative for Q2. All right, let's see. By the way, that's not going to, and then the Q4 will not be impacted by a cut by the Fed, even if it's in July, much less if it's in September. Just won't have time to affect the Q4. It would really start to have an effect on the Q1 next year. By the way, David Barron, the son of Ron, was written up today in a Barron's article, different Barron's, saying there's a risk of a 10 to 15% downside in the market, but there's a 20 to 30% upside that is also in play. So I suppose that could be investment advice, because I guess he gets to give investment advice. Anyway, that certainly comports with some of the ways I'm seeing things right now. Well, as you know, there is no pre-market on the weekend, on Friday. So what we will want to take a look, though, is what happened today. Very quickly, we have got Tesla, of course, up 513, 251.52. In the after hours, it is still down almost $1. We have got the Dow Jones was up 67, the NASDAQ up 164, S&P up 30. The Magnificent Seven were all up except for NVIDIA, which was down 245, now at 125.83. And the Cathie Woods mixed almost exactly 5 and 4, 5 green, 4 red. Okay, let's go in and take a look at the rest of, the rest of the items here. We have got the bonds. Today we're down 6.9 basis points, with the 2-year down 8.7 basis points, giving us 6 and so yeah, just still about 32 basis point difference. That didn't change very much. The 2-month was actually up 2.1 basis points. So now we're back up to 110. So the 2-year, the 2-month is going the opposite direction now of the 2-year. Okay, I don't know. We'll find out. It's going to change history because we're now in July. So we've gone 24 months. So it's all new anyway. Oil was down 44 cents today on the Texas Intermediate, 58 on Brent. So and the spread is still $3.40. Natural gas down 3.64% to $2.33. Wow. Gold up another $30 today to almost 2,400. We are now shooting for all-time highs there. 24, I forget where it ended up last time. 24.30 sounds familiar. Maybe it was higher. I don't remember. Right around there somewhere. We have got silver up 2.21% today, well above 30 at 31.52. We have got copper up almost 3% today at $4.67. But remember, all three of these have nothing to do with the overall commodities. I finally looked that up, and commodities are down, generally down, not a lot, not a ton, but down. We have got Bitcoin down 18.95 to 56,474. Apparently was as low as 55 earlier in the day. People are thinking it had to do with some kind of a scam that was unwound and they're paying people back, or I don't know. But right now it is definitely getting creamed. We've got the euro unchanged and the Japanese yen down again significantly. We've got, and that's it. That's all we can talk about. That's all we know on a Friday night. So if you haven't hit like and subscribe and notify yet, you want to do those. Do you know what's coming up tomorrow morning? Larry Goldberg and I will be looking at what Cathie Wood says overnight about all of this, because she is going to open his eyes, my eyes, and probably your eyes to things that we haven't thought through quite as well as we should. It's always amazing, and it's almost always one of the best and most watched shows of the month for this channel. So be here tomorrow morning. Hit notify so that you get reminded to listen to Larry tomorrow. And I have a CERN basher tomorrow. Yes, a CERN basher tomorrow for you. Very good CERN basher. Amazing. Lots of Tesla stats. And then in the afternoon, we'll have the regular news show that we do on Saturday. So having said all of that, it's been great talking to you.